Welcome back, everybody. You just heard Senator Ron Johnson, who has helped us for the last year and a half since the beginning of this show pick apart what actually happened on January 6th. And there's another person in the House who actually wrote a book about what happened that day, and he has also been a very reliable source of information on this very topic. Congressman Troy Nehls from the great state of Texas, member of the House Judiciary Committee. Sir, thank you for coming here tonight.
Man, it's good to be with you. You too, John. I like you, but I really like Amanda.
Who could blame you? I do too.
He's the nicer one, though. Congressman, I wanted to ask you because we played some footage for Senator Ron Johnson, and this is our third night of reporting on this footage that is revealing a lot about that day. And so I just want to start with I guess, a very direct question. What becomes of the reputations of the people who were on the January 6th committee, the people who orchestrated these videos that they put out during their very, overproduced committee hearings? What becomes of those reputations? Are they damaged at all?
Well, I think the whole sham committee, I mean, we said it was a sham right from the get-go. We all know, and we've said it when she first, declined or restricted Republicans from being on the committee. It was the first time in the history of Congress Nancy Pelosi rejected a minority leader's picks to be on that subcommittee. So she picks a couple of rhinos. She picked Kinzinger and Liz Cheney, both anti-Trumpers, to fit in with all the other Democrats on that committee that hated Trump. So we know, and we knew way back then, that what you're going to hear from this committee, what the American people are going to hear, is nothing but a bunch of half-truths and lies, and that's what we saw. And they're going to fabricate things. They're going to hide things. They're not going to ask the right questions. And people that started answering truthfully, they're going to interrupt. And they're going to they control the narrative. They control the narrative. I think it's about time that the House of Representatives, and I would get with Jim Jordan on this and say, Jim, I think we need to have a hearing on January 6th and get some of these characters in front of our committee, like a Uganda Pittman and a Sean Gallagher, the old chiefs there of the Capitol Police. And Pittman, what I found out now with that getting retirement when she wasn't eligible, it stinks to high heaven. Stinks to high heaven.
Congressman, I want to ask about one other thing, because over the last few days, we've seen now empirical proof that they doctored some of the tapes. They put sound on them where there wasn't. Nancy Pelosi took the time during her exit from the Capitol, allegedly an evacuation, to have her daughter film her like it was a Hollywood movie. Do you think it's time for an ethics complaint? Will you or someone file an ethics complaint saying that the conduct of the January 6th committee was not up to the standards of the House of Representatives?
I would agree. I think Benny Thompson now was the puppet, and Nancy was the puppet master. And I think it's important that we expose these. We need to get the thousands of hours of video. Why wouldn't that be why wouldn't the American people be able to see that unless there is some real true security concern or something so graphic that you wouldn't want on TV? But I think that members of Congress that would like to review all that video footage should be able to review it. But Nancy kept it hidden. She didn't want anybody to look at this. Now, they picked and choose what they wanted to expose during that sham committee. They got people screaming. They found the worst 10 minutes inside the Capitol. But when you truly see the video, there are hours and hours of no violence, nonviolent protesters just walking around inside the Capitol, waving their flags, singing God Bless America. I mean, there were many, many people inside that Capitol building that day that didn't violate any law, didn't hurt anybody, didn't do anything wrong.
Sir, for those of us who have read your book, I think a lot of people would argue that there's more truth on one page of your book than there was during that entire committee hearing. Of all of the information that you've observed, including what you put in your book, what do you think the most important truths are to enforce that counter the narrative that we've gotten from Democrats for the last 2 years?
That January 6th, one of the darkest days in history, should have never happened. But there was one person. If you put Gallagher in it too, the other chief, Uganda Pittman had all the intelligence, the leadership of the Capitol Police, which ultimately answers to Nancy Pelosi. They had all the intelligence that extremist groups are going to be there, white supremacists, they were all coming. The Capitol building itself was the target, high propensity for violence. It was all there in the intel brief, and they didn't share it with the officers. The 1,840 men and women of Capitol Police, and some of them were physically beaten, no question, because they were unprepared. If you see them that day, none of them, very few of them, had any shields. They didn't have anything because they weren't shared the intel. So the point is, January 6th should have never happened. The National Guard should have been on our nation's capital January 4th. January 6th would have never happened. Ugandan Pittman, I need 5 minutes with her in front of a judiciary hearing. I need 5 minutes.
Yeah, that is an important player who hasn't gotten the sort of scrutiny or questioning that she deserves. It sounds like you may be able to deliver.
She got a pay raise, John.
I know.
She goes to UC Berkeley. She's making almost $300,000 a year. That's a reward. Nancy finds her a job in California.
Unbelievable. So I want to turn to another thing that your committee is working hard on, and that is the FBI weaponization. Today, we have two really extraordinary disclosures on Just the News. First, this morning, a story I wrote that said the FBI used the Russian disinformation excuse not only to fool all of us during the 2020 election about the laptop, but to formally stop FBI probes of Hunter, Joe, and James Biden in 2020. And then today, the FBI comes in, finally brings that document and says, oh, we can't release this because 3 years later, now we're looking at it. I want to get your reaction to both of those.
I think heads should roll. Comey and all of them. I tell you, I think James Comer is doing a great job with government oversight reform. He's getting to the bottom of this. I think the American people, they want answers. They don't just want them. They're demanding answers. Putting a little pressure on Chairman Comer, but he's a smart guy, very smart guy. He'll get to the bottom of it, but he needs to continue to press. We need to continue to dig, because I tell you something, when we no longer, as the American people, can trust the FBI, when we can't trust the FBI, and then that agency is then used to go after their adversaries, the political adversaries, I tell you, I don't really think it's the average, FBI agent that's out there doing a good job trying to identify child molesters and going out there and catching real bad guys, but it's that leadership. It's the individual leaders that are meeting with the DOJ and the President of the United States, trying to find a way to protect them and protect their party. I tell you something, it's a bad day for America. I think people should be going to jail, if not prison. Jail, if not prison, once this investigation is completed, because it's corrupt. The FBI is corrupt, and you can thank the leadership for it.
Yeah, and sir, with regards to this, as Comer put it, highly trusted confidential human informant, there's a real clean answer on Capitol Hill when someone is being asked about an investigation, an answer that just shuts down any further questioning, and it's an ongoing investigation. This is still an ongoing investigation, according to Director Wray. Do you buy that?
Well, it's going to be an ongoing investigation. I'll tell you, mark my words. Those same words are going to come out of his mouth until the 2024 election is over with. It's going to be an ongoing investigation until after November's 2020, the election. They're not going to absolutely. It's going to be, you won't know that for another 18 months. They're going to have this election over with before they ever say, now we can give you an answer. You're going to have to wait. They got to do everything to protect Sleepy Joe and his corrupt family. That's exactly what they're going to do. And when you don't own the White House, and you appoint all these people, what do you think you're going to get? You're not going to get a whole hell of a lot from them.
Do you think, sir, that Chris Wray, we've got about 30 seconds left, that Chris Wray is part of that protection racket right now?
I think they all are. I mean, he was a Trump appointee, wasn't he? I think he was. But, we've had a lot of turncoats. He's just not the only one. We've had some others, both in it. And I tell you, it's a big organization, the United States government. Donald Trump thought he could trust people and they would, do the right thing. But obviously, we find out in the end, they weren't good people. And they actually absolutely just tried to destroy Donald Trump, and shame on them. But he's coming back. He's coming back.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the historical RICO investigations, and the term racket really kind of rings true in a lot of this. Texas Congressman Troy Nehls, we love having you on the show. We appreciate you. Everybody go check out his book, The Big Fraud, What Democrats Don't Want You to Know About January 6th, the 2020 election, and a whole lot else. And we discuss all of that on this show right after this commercial break.